Hi everyone, we're continuing with the question types for the reading section of the IELTS. This time we're going to see the matching features question type. So we're going to go straight to the question type. Let's go to the question type. So what does this question look like? It looks something like this, right? The correct letter, and they are give you a letter that corresponds to a statement in boxes, and they are going to give you the number of the boxes, which are exactly the number of the questions on your answer sheet. And you may use any letter more than once. Okay, this is how it looks like. Before we go to the specific question, what do? As we always, we read the question, we go to the specific paragraph, we scan, don't read, we match using synonyms and concepts. And in this specific case, we want to predict. So far, we haven't used the prediction as much. Again, it's not like you never predict. If in the previous question types you have kind of predicted the right answer, just go ahead and do it. But it's not part of the recommended strategy because it takes a little bit of time to predict. So things you don't want to do, as always, don't assume, don't autocorrect, don't be unspecific, don't try to understand everything, and don't expect to see the exact keyword. I know I'm going a little bit fast over here, but this pretty much repeats in every question type. So we're going to go straight to the question type. So this is what it looks like. So they are going to give you, okay, a list of basic topics, okay? And then they're going to give you characteristics of those topics. Now, here's the important thing. We're no longer matching to a specific paragraph of the passage. It's not like A is passage A or 6 is passage 6. It doesn't work like this. All this information about A, B, and C, reverse osmosis, UV light treatment, and chlorination will be in different parts of the passage, maybe in the same passage, we don't know. Okay, it doesn't matter. It's not really about that. In this case, we're only matching whether the information, like 6, 7, 8 in numbers, is a property or a characteristic or just true or agrees or something, has something to do with each of these. Usually it's about descriptions or having a characteristic of any of these concepts, but in general can be anything. Okay, so this is something like a matching, like the matching headings, the matching information question. Yes, because it's a matching, you have to match, but it's also like a true false question, which means not that you don't have the not given anymore, but it's just either true or not, right? So it has to both match the information and it has to be true about the information. So it's not just where you find this topic, it has to be the same thing. Now, how we're going to apply the strategy here? Then again, sorry, I'm going to give you some time to maybe screenshot or pause the video to see the question, and then some time to either screenshot or take or read the text. Okay, you can just pause the video. Okay. And then what we do is we find keywords. So we have these three. Remember, the keywords that we're going to focus on are on the letters here. So it's either reverse osmosis, UV light treatment, or chlorination. So the first thing is to find these three things in the text. And after we find that, we're going to find what it says. Now, this is where the prediction part comes in, because you may find the reverse osmosis and just read everything that it says about reverse osmosis. And everything that it says and that it matches with one of these numbers will be the answer. And then you do the same for UV light treatment and for chlorination. But of course, you can always just eliminate. So we find reverse osmosis and then we go one by one without trying to predict in order to find what the text says about the reverse osmosis. So again, this is the text. You can either pause the video or take a screenshot to work on it, but we're going to go straight to solving this question. Okay, so how we apply the strategy? We go to reverse osmosis. Again, we pretty much find every part in the text in which the reverse osmosis is mentioned. So if it's mentioned 2 times, we underline or we look for those 2 times. If it's 3 times, we look for those 3 times. Like every time if the passage says anything about the reverse osmosis, we're going to look at that part. So we have reverse osmosis here and we have reverse osmosis here. And then we pretty much read what it says about reverse osmosis. Okay, so what does it say about reverse osmosis? So it says like a common filtering procedure. So the reverse osmosis is a filtering procedure and it involves the water being pressed. So it's pretty much describing what it is. So it's the water being pressed. And then it says, one disadvantage. So it says that one disadvantage is that has a lot of unusable water and as a byproduct, and the water has to be thrown away. Again, every alternative, like every number that says any of these, will be matched with A, with reverse osmosis. Now we go ahead and we do the same for B, although we pretty much have to match it here, okay? So we go ahead and do the same thing for B, UV light treatment. So we have UV light treatment. We actually have more instances. We have it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And again, we read everything that says about UV light treatment, and then we do the same for chlorination. Okay, of course, we do it one by one. So, for example, now that we have the reverse osmosis information, right? So, filtering procedure involves water being passed, and then you have unusable water that has to be thrown away. So, now we go to the alternatives, right? To the numbers. Okay, so which ones from 6 to 9 match with reverse osmosis? So, we have the information in the text. Okay, and again, remember, if you have predicted, you can pretty much just solve it. And even if you have predicted, you can pretty much eliminate, right? So it says nothing about continuing to protect water as being transported. So it says nothing about being useful about during emergencies. It does say something about a physical barrier to separate unwanted matter from water. So we go to the specific part, like to the unwanted matter. So it talks about, remember, to prevent larger contaminants, which is the unwanted things. Well, in this case, the unwanted matters. And then, you have a lot of unusable water that it's pretty much left alone, right? So finally, it prevents bacteria from reproducing. Let's see if it says anything about bacteria. Well, it does say about germs, but it doesn't say anything about bacteria not being able to reproduce. Okay, then we go to the next one, UV light treatment. Again, this is what it says. It has natural antibacterial qualities. And then it says that it passes through a treatment chamber and neutralize the germs, removing their DNA, and so on and so forth. And then we go to the text. Again, if you have predicted, then good. So does it talk about transportation? Does it talk about emergencies? Does it talk about bacteria from reproducing? So we go here. So does it talk anything about transportation? We don't find any mention to any transportation. Okay. Does it talk anything about emergencies? It doesn't say anything about emergencies. Remember, it has to pretty much be there. Either the word emergency or something that means an emergency, right? And it's not there. So it prevents bacteria from reproducing. So we go here. And it says it has antibacterial qualities, but we don't know whether that is, whether that antibacterial is preventing the bacteria from reproducing. All we know is that it's not letting the bacteria pass through, but then they do say their ability to replicate. So here is where they say that they cannot reproduce, right? So again, just being antibacterial, we don't know, but just being unable to replicate, then yes. And finally, we go to chlorination, and then we go to what it says about chlorination. So powerful and comprehensive, it's antimicrobial, contaminant-free, like all of this about chlorination. And then we go here, right? It protects water as it's being transported. Then we go here. So where does it talk about transportation? Again, it may not have the exact word transportation, but it does say all the way through the pipes and to the taps. So that is the transportation of the water. Remember, this is water. So basically, in this case, transportation of water will be water running through the pipes. It's not like someone is actually carrying the water. So yes, it's about this one. Then it's particularly useful during emergencies. Again, maybe we don't have the exact word emergencies, but we have after natural disasters have occurred. So in this case, the natural disaster term will be matching the word emergencies. And finally, prevents bacteria from reproducing. We go here and we find yes, okay, it's an antimicrobial effect, but we don't know whether it's because they are not reproducing. All we know is that antimicrobial, right? So we don't know exactly what it's doing. Okay, so remember, we are playing match. We're still playing match. Things that we have to have in mind, remember that the answer is in the text, okay? Remember, it may not be the exact same word, but it has to be, the information has to be in the text. Remember, we have to match the keywords. Again, remember, maybe not exactly the same word, like letter by letter, but it has to be there. And in this case, we have to go to the paragraph first, because otherwise it will take much more time. Remember, we also want to predict. Now, and a specific thing about predicting is, yes, practice predicting when you practice for homework, or let's say you're actually practicing 2 months in advance for the exam, then definitely like take your time to predict, like take a full 30 seconds or 1 minute to predict. But by the time you're actually in the exam, prediction should be immediate. Okay, so this shouldn't be something that you're pushing on. So if your brain immediately predicts something, then good. But if your brain doesn't immediately predict something, just let it go. Don't even try to predict anymore, because you will be wasting time. And remember, do the easier ones first. So you are pretty much removing alternatives, like you're eliminating alternatives, right? So you will be working with fewer and fewer alternatives, which will increase your chance of getting it right. Okay, so that was the matching features question type. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments. Remember, please, to like, share, subscribe, or whatever you do to these videos. And we'll see each other in the next question type for the reading section. Bye.